Alright, so here's the platinum trophy. Here's my playtime. That's 31.5 hours of game time to get the platinum. Now, if we take into account reloads and loading times for the game, then my total playtime for this is actually around 35 hours. And for the record, I didn't resort to using any demo saves or doing any auto battling overnight to get this playtime, so this time is basically a reflection of how much I've actively spent playing this game to get the platinum. And I also skipped the cutscenes because I wanted to just watch them all in one go, so they're not reflected in this playtime. I also never bought any of the paid DLC, which is like stat bonuses, I believe, or grinding related bonuses. I didn't buy any of that, so you can get the platinum fairly quickly without having to buy any of that stuff. And just so we can confirm that I'm not pulling your leg, let's take a look at the trophy list that's in game for this. As you can see, they're all highlighted, which means yes, I did get every single trophy within this amount of time that I'm stating. Trophies are tied to your save file, by the way. At least this in-game list is. So if I load another save that's far back into the game, you would see that the in-game trophy list has a bunch of trophies not unlocked. So now that that's out of the way, I feel like I'm ready to give my overall thoughts on Disgaea 6 as a game. What do I, a longtime player of this series, think about this new iteration for the series? Well, for starters, let's talk about the changes. I know this is going to be a bit of a divisive game overall, since they did make a lot of changes. I definitely feel like this is an experimental game. Like most people, I definitely think NIS is just testing the waters to see how the new wave of gamers will respond to the changes. So the 3D, switch to 3D. I definitely think the 2D sprites look better than the 3D, but I'm not really that big on graphics, so as far as the game is concerned, they work fine for me. And the classes, they did cut out a lot of classes for this game. So this game actually does have the lowest amount of classes compared to any other game in the series. So if you look at all this with all the classes that you have available, there's only 22 generic classes in total. Now, I'm not really much of a person who uses every single class in the game, so I'm perfectly okay with them cutting out the amount of classes, because there were a lot of classes in the other games that I never really ended up using. One of the interesting things that they did was the monster classes kind of work functionally the same as human classes now. There's really not much of a difference between monsters and humans, except some monsters, like for example the horseman and the dragon, they take up a plus shape area. They always take up a plus shape area rather than the one tile space that most other units take. It's an interesting change, and I'm not too big of a fan of it, but it may have some functional strategic applications that I'm not seeing at the moment. But overall, I can live with the lack of classes. I think 22 is enough to satisfy somebody like me, since I don't really go for a full party of every single class in the games I've played anyways. It's personal preference at the end of the day. Now, the big elephant in the room is auto battle. This game does have the ability to auto battle. I will go demonstrate in this first stage here. So you can auto battle to clear everything in like 5 seconds. So how does this affect the game? I'll go over that when I go through the my journey through the game. Now, first, let's start with the story. So for the story, I found the difficulty to be adequate. In my first playthrough, I did check if auto battle can carry you through the story. I can say that if you don't resort to doing something as extreme as auto battling the same stage for several hours on end, auto battle can carry you through a good amount of stages, but it can't carry you through all of the stages because the people who designed the story maps weren't really afraid to hold back on adding dangerous geo effects on several story maps. So you're going to be seeing things like ally damage 50%, enemy boost plus 50%, damage percent effects, clone effects, warp, among other things. So that kind of balances the story to a degree, the difficulty of the story. So in short, auto battle can get you pretty far through most of the story, but unless you do some really extreme grinding, like 10 plus hours of straight up auto battle grinding, it can only carry you so far because there are a lot of geo effects that will make it very difficult for the auto battle to carry you through every single map in the game. So I'm not going to get into the story very much because that's spoilers. Obviously, you probably don't want to hear spoilers in the review. So let's get to that post-game. I felt like the post-game was pretty adequate for a Disgaea game. Without spoiling too much, there are 2 tiers of level caps that you need to unlock to complete the entire post-game. And I would say the amount of post-game content is about on par with the launch version of Disgaea 5, which, by the way, in case you didn't know, Disgaea 5, when the game launched, did not have a ball fight added in until a much later update. So this game is kind of in the same boat as Disgaea 5's launch release, and I expect this game to do something similar in the future. I'm sure we'll probably see some mega super boss fight added in a few months from now. But overall, I think the post game was alright. Now, my primary gripe with the post game is the lack of post game story content compared to the other games. Otherwise, I think there's enough content here to satisfy most fans who played these games before, especially if you like maxing out your characters. I'd say this game is the 3rd easiest Disgaea game to max out your stats behind Disgaea 4 and 3. And now, how does the auto battle do in the post game? From what I've seen, if you try to resort to auto battling during the entirety of the post game, it's not a great idea because there are some grinding methods out there that can allow one to skyrocket in power levels at a much quicker rate than auto battling the same map would ever do. And for reference, after unlocking the final level cap, I was able to get a character to the maximum level within 2 hours playtime, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I resorted to all about battling one map over and over. So, what features did I like about this game and what did I not like? Let's go over the ones I didn't like. Get that out of the way. Like I said before, I felt like the lack of post-game story content was a bit of a bummer, but maybe they'll add in more story stuff in later updates, who knows. And the inflated stats at the start of the game is I have some issues with. The problem is if you create a level 1 character like I'm gonna do here, you'll see that their initial stats are pretty darn high. So you'll see this level 1 character that I've made already starts out with tens of thousands of stats. I feel like the inflated stats at the beginning of the game was a bit unnecessary. I know they were trying to go for the thrill of the higher stats, but starting out with stats this high kind of makes it feel a bit like it kind of makes the big numbers lose some meaning in a sense. So hopefully with the next game, I hope they revert us back to like triple or double digit initial stats, and then we can get to a similar power level in this game. When you get to the post game, I'd rather have start out with the low triple or double digit stats rather than quintuple digit stats, because as it stands, I feel like the last 3 digits of the stats don't really matter too much. So my last thing about this game that I didn't like is the items. They are fairly worthless as far as giving stats. Most of the time you want to use items in this game, it's to either increase your character's range or to give them more jump or to give them more move. You're not really going to use any items to actually increase your stats, especially because it is pretty easy to hit the stat caps without leveling up your items at all. And I think I've covered most of the aspects that I didn't like from this initial playthrough. Now, the things I do like though, I do like the different layers to the post game. I think that adds an interesting spin on things. I do like how you can potentially get to max level from level 1 within a single clear if you set up everything appropriately. I also think they did a good job with the map design in this game compared to Disgaea 5, where it felt mostly bare bones as far as like challenging geo effects. Of course, Disgaea 4 and Disgaea 3 took it up a notch with the geo blocks, but I think this game is kind of in the middle of the difficulty of the map design between Disgaea 5 and Disgaea 4/3. I think this game has a nice balance with the geo effects that you'll encounter. Now, I also like how they balance. I feel like the game is appropriately balanced, so that while you could resort to auto-battling the same map over and over to grind during the post-game, it's not gonna get you as far as certain other grinding methods that because you can get so much stronger if you utilize the optimal grinding methods in a shorter amount of time than auto-battling the same map over and over. Of course, we'll have to mention the menu in the base, this wheel. I do like how you no longer have to walk to the NPCs that you want to talk to. You can just access them here. So that's a pretty good feature, and I hope they keep that in future games. And I also like how they handle the abilities as well. So if I want to get a new character up and give them several abilities, I can just go to a character that already has the abilities I want, and then I can use mana to convert it into a scroll. And you can do that for as long as you have mana. So now we will have scrolls of this ability to give to the characters that you want. So that's the one thing I really like that this game did. You only have to get an ability once, and then you can just pass it on to however many characters that you need to have it. Then the reincarnation system I thought was pretty good. I like how they handled reincarnation this time around. So you can reincarnate your characters like you always do in these games, but this time instead of getting like a base amount of points allocated to your stats, you can get karma, which you can then not only use to allocate towards your base stats, but you can use it to unlock new bonuses like more jump, more move, more damage. So, and if you don't feel like using up current karma and you want to use it to unlock something else, you can just bank it until you reincarnate next, and then you'll have more karma to work with to unlock those features that you want. So I think they handled reincarnation pretty well, and it's a nice replacement for the Kara world. I also like how for quests they didn't put a limit on how many quests you can accept, although they didn't add a an accept all feature for quests. So you can see right here I've got 74 quests active right now. They could do a little better with that by giving us an accept all quests feature, because I still have to accept each quest one at a time, but hopefully in a later update they'll do that. And I also like how they handled the mana and the money, because mana was always pretty useful for upgrading skills and powering up skills. This time you can use mana to lower a skill's SP costs. So there's an option here to lower the skill's SP cost. You can see right there, and you can also use your mana to upgrade a skill as high as level 9999 if you want to. So besides using the bills, that's another thing. Besides passing bills, skills are also heavy mana usage. And money is also pretty useful in this game because of the drink bar feature. The drink bar will allow you to spend money to upgrade your character's parameters permanently. So I can spend mana to upgrade my attack here, and it'll retain when you reincarnate, so that's nice. And there's also subclasses that make a return from Disgaea 5 in this game. That's no longer an issue to grind out. Subclasses still increase your base stats when you level up. So it's nice to max those out. And you can also max out your subclasses with the drink bar. Like I'll show you here. Well, that's already maxed out. I'll go to another character. So you can just spend money to max out your subclasses, like so. And so that makes the ease of powering up a new character pretty quick. Yeah, those are all the things I like. Most of the things I like about this game. I'm not sure if I can cover them all in this one video, but as far as the trophy list is concerned, the trophy list is comparable to Disgaea 5's trophy list. There are no super grindy trophies except for one trophy, which requires you to level up an item to 9999, which is a huge departure from a huge leap from previous games, wherein the max you had to level up an item was 500. Other than that, I think the trophy list was pretty good overall. I mean, Disgaea 5's list was great, and this game is just an extension of that list, minus that one trophy for the item leveling. Overall, should you get this game, if you're still on the fence about it, I would say wait and see what the updates the game will have in the next few months. I think it's very likely that they'll add a new super boss fight, because this game doesn't really have a super boss as it stands right now. So I believe they will add something like that in the future, so we'll have to see how that turns out. And I think it's worth getting if you're a fan of the series. There's a lot to mess around with, a lot of ways to power up your characters quickly, and it also balances that, well, you can auto battle through most of the game. It's not going to get you that far in the post game. You do have to resort to manual tactics to power up characters quickly. So yeah, just if you're gonna get this game, just go into it with an open mind and don't fall into the trap thinking auto battle can carry you through everything, and you'll probably have a good time. I think there's a lot of nice features that they add here, and I think there's a lot of customizable things you can do still that makes Disgaea games fun to just mess around with. And I think that concludes my overall thoughts and review about this game. If you have any other questions or concerns that I may not have covered with this game, then feel free to leave a comment on the video. And I hope to see you all some other time. Peace out.